making a beef pot roast in the Instant Pot. We're making a balsamic beef pot roast. Let me show you what it looks like. It's a beautiful pot roast with a nice gravy. I'm actually serving it with some broccoli. You use sour cream in this recipe to make it a little bit creamier and richer. And this recipe actually is keto-friendly and gluten-free. So for family members that have sensitivities, this recipe is for them too. So come along with me and let's make some balsamic beef pot roast in the Instant Pot. Let's take a look at the ingredients needed to make this recipe. 2 tablespoons of avocado or your favorite oil, 3 pounds of chuck roast, boneless, about 1.5 cups of beef broth, 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar, a couple of tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 cup to 1 cup of sour cream, 1 pound of white sliced mushrooms, about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and about 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and about 1/2 teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. Plug in your Instant Pot, push the saute button and ensure it's on more, and it should be on more for 30 minutes. Most default is 30 minutes, but I had it on 10 from a last cooking time. Now it's on. While it's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and chop up my meat into some big chunks. I'm going to make about 4 or 5 big chunks here to saute the pieces better, and they'll cook better and get a nicer, crispier outside as I brown the meat. So first I'm cutting them up. Now I'm going to add some of the onion powder, garlic powder, Himalayan sea salt, and some black pepper, and then turn them over and repeat the same seasonings on the second side. If you're trying to watch your sodium, you don't have to add it at this stage of the cooking process. Just hold off to the end and adjust your spices accordingly. So now that the Instant Pot says hot, we're going to add in our 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. I like to use avocado oil because it has a higher smoking point. And I'm going to add in my chunks of meat. And because I've made 5 chunks, I'm going to have to cook it in 2 batches. It's better than overcrowding the pan. And you want to give it a nice sear. Once it has a nice sear, flip it over. It's probably about 4 minutes on each side. You could also leave it in a little bit longer for how dark you like it. So this is how I like my meat browned before I'm going to be cooking it. And now that I'm done, I'm taking it out of the pot. As you can see, the bottom of the pan is sort of burnt and brown. This is going to add flavoring to the sauce. You need to deglaze the pan by using 1/2 cup of the beef broth and scrape the bottom to ensure all the sticky parts are removed from the pan. I really like this step. This adds a lot of flavor to the sauce of the gravy at the end. So just ensure you scrape off the bottom really well, because if you don't, you're likely to get a burn error. So you can hold the rim of your pot if you need to. It doesn't really get hot at this stage. So I hold it sort of in place just to ensure, or to spin it around to ensure I can get the bottom of the pan clean. Once I'm comfortable that all the bits have been scraped off, it's time to add in my pound of white button sliced mushrooms. And I'm going to just saute these for a few minutes. I'm also trying to coat them in the beef broth and drippings because, you know, the mushrooms are like a sponge and they'll absorb all that flavor. I'm adding in my 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar. If you don't like that much vinegar, you can always reduce it. It is quite a potent flavor and some people are not that fond of it so strongly. I'm also adding in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Give it a stir, making sure all the flavors are incorporated together. I'm now putting in my rack that came with my Instant Pot and putting it on top of the mushrooms, and now just layering my chunks of meat on top of the rack. This is going to make for easy removal at the end of the cooking process. And now it's time to close the lid. Ensure it's locked. Ensure that the valve is set to sealing. And we're getting ready to pressurize. So now I'm going to hit cancel. We're going to hit meat. And we're going to cook it for 40 minutes. You can also hit manual or pressure cook button for 40 minutes. It'll work the same. I wanted to show you how these preset functions work. After the 40-minute cooking time has completed, your display will look like this. And we're going to do a quick release of the pressure, and I'll show that to you in a moment. But if you want your meat even more tender than what I'll show you, you can go ahead and let it sit in a natural pressure release for about 10 minutes. We like our roast fork tender, but still not completely falling apart, and you'll see that later on. Now I'm going to push my valve to venting for a quick release. Now that the pin has dropped, it's time to safely remove the lid. We turn it a quarter of a turn, lift up the lid, and look at the beautiful chunks of roast. Looks amazing already. Now it's time to lift the trivet out of the pot and have a plate ready to place your meat on it. See how easily this all comes out of the Instant Pot, and the mushrooms are remaining below in the sauce. Works out perfectly. Now if your trivet is hot, ensure you use some pot holders. Now we're going to work on the sauce. So we're going to hit cancel, then hit the saute button, and let the pot warm up again. We're going to go ahead, and right now I have it on normal, not on high, because I want to make sure I don't burn my sauce. We want to bring this to a rapid boil, and we're going to let it cook for about 10 minutes to reduce. This will help concentrate the flavor. Now I know some people are not sauce people or gravy people, so if you're not interested in really using the sauce, you can actually stop here and just put a little bit of the liquid over the roast just to keep it moist. But I like gravy and my family likes gravy, so we're going to go ahead and make this into a nice, thick, rich gravy. So I'm adding in the xanthan gum. This is the thickener, and I'm starting out with a quarter teaspoon, and I'm just adding a little bit at a time because this can clump up easily, and you do need the high heat to help thicken this. So even once you pour it in, you kind of have to let it sit there and thicken for quite a few minutes. So after you put it in and you ensure that it's thoroughly incorporated, let it come back to a boil and continue boiling until it's to your desired thickness. Don't rush in and put some more xanthan gum. Give it a few minutes to see if it thickens on its own. Xanthan gum is a little different than cornstarch, where cornstarch is less than a minute and you see the thickness. So continue boiling, and now it's time to add in the sour cream. You can add in anywhere between a half a cup to a cup of sour cream. Sour cream will just add richness to your gravy, and the sour cream will also help reduce the strong, sweet tartness of the balsamic vinegar flavor, be just a bit more mild. So as you can see here, it's not incorporated, so it's going to take a few minutes to cook, and you don't want it to be chunky like this. First of all, it's unappealing in the gravy, and you just want the sour cream melted and incorporated completely. So it should look something like this when it's done. The mushrooms are there, and it's a nice, rich, creamy gravy. So you'll want to taste your gravy, see if you need to adjust the spices at all. If you need more seasoning, add it. If it's too strong for you, you can add a little more beef broth. So ensure you taste your sauce before you serve it to your guests. And here's the completed dish. Balsamic beef pot roast in the Instant Pot. Look how fork tender the meat comes out. A nice rich thick gravy on top with mushrooms, so much flavor. You can see I really don't even need the knife. I can just go ahead and keep cutting it with the fork. It's that tender. Juicy, moist, and tender, just the way a pot roast should be. Look how beautiful the meat is. Did you want a bite? There you have it, balsamic pot roast in the Instant Pot. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give my video a thumbs up and comment down below. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to be informed when my next video is available. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.